Under this series of priesthood, we'll be looking at priesthood timing system. Priesthood timing system. And then before we begin to check the scriptures, if you look at this picture, you'll see how that Jesus was hanging on the cross, and then you see some people around him. Now, if you notice, according to the scripture, you will discover that while Jesus was nailed to the cross, his disciples, the known disciples, when I say the known disciples, I'm referring to the people that followed him, the 12. Judas died, so the 11 who were, commonly seen with him were not around. And the reason was because they were scared of being killed. So none of them stood close to the cross. They were looking from afar. That is for those that care to look anyway. Everybody went into hiding because they did not want to be implicated by the sufferings of Jesus. They all wanted the honor from him. Jesus will enter into a place, heal the sick, and then people will honor him. So that's what the disciples actually wanted. They don't want this part of the ministry that he will suffer. No. The moment Jesus was nailed to the cross, all of them, they vanished. And even Peter, who was still, though Peter was not even close, but far away too, but where he was, a young boy said, hello sir, it's like I've seen you with this man before. Peter said, me? Never. He denied Jesus 3 times. In one of the accounts of the Gospels, the Bible made us to understand that at a point, Peter was placing a curse on himself just to make the people believe that he doesn't know Jesus. So that's how terrible the situation of Jesus was. So the pains that Jesus had on the cross was not really the nails passing through his hands. It was not really the nails passing through his legs. It was not really the crown of thorns. It was not his body that was pierced with wires. The real pain Jesus had on the cross was the pain of betrayal. Betrayal from the people that he wasted his life upon, the people he spent time with. For those of you that have been betrayed before, you know how it feels. Somebody that you have trusted, for you put all your mind on the person, and then before your eyes you see the person betraying you, and the person is not even feeling sorry about it. That can be painful. So, somebody is now saying, but the Bible referred to females as weaker vessels. So if the Bible refers to females as weaker vessels, that means they are weak. Well, if you want to go by that definition, if the females are weaker vessels, that means the male is a weak vessel. So the male is weak. That's why the female is weaker. So both of them are actually weak. That's just it. None of them has strength. If you are going by that, because that's what some people say, the females are weaker vessels, and then they forget, they have forgotten the rules of English. That's adjective. That's degree of adjectives in English language. There is, comparative, adjective, comparative, superlative, something like that. Do you understand? So those are degrees of adjective. You have fast, faster, fastest. So if you say the females are weaker vessels, it will mean that they are already in the second degree. So something is in the first degree. They are weaker because Another thing is weak, and that's the male. So if you want to go by that, it means the males are weak. That's why the females are weaker. So none of them have strength. That's just the conclusion. But the good news is it is far beyond that. It is more than that. Are you there? It is more. It is more than that. It is more than that. So that was the case of Jesus. Jesus suffered betrayals from his close people, from those that he could call his confidants. But unfortunately, he suffered betrayal. He suffered betrayal, and it was to him a terrible, terrible, terrible experience. But there is this particular gender that we used to look down on. It is common to say that women are weaker vessels. Are you there? Women are weaker vessels, and then there are men that once they see women like this, they just see them as weak people, people that does not have strength. They can't really believe in females. Just invest in males. Females are somehow, they can't go as far as the males. And then a lot of theories are, flying around, you know, concerning the females. And then some are even taking, some in their bid to support the female, they went into feminism. And then that is the extreme, where they now say, okay, the female can do more than the male. The female does not need a male. Those things are now extreme. Of course, it is wrong to look down on the females. It is wrong to assume that the females are weak. It is wrong to assume that the females are not capable. But it is also totally wrong to say that the females do not need the males. That's extreme. So in working with the truth, you don't go too low and you don't go too high. Balance is in the middle, and that's the truth. You get what I'm saying? So if you really want to have more understanding of what it is, balance, you can. There's a message on the YouTube channel. Are you there? There's a message on the YouTube channel titled Center of Balance. Center of Balance. So if you listen to that, you understand some things about the truth. Are you there? Yeah. So my emphasis is the priesthood timing system. And then in order to go into that, I need to lay these foundations. So females are crucial in ministry. A ministry that will grow must have committed females. Females they are good in evangelism. They know how to speak to people, to convince them to come. Females are good at that. Are you getting what I'm saying? And I'm going to show you some things that the female did to Jesus that the males, they could not do. Are you there? So I'm not saying this to dive into feminism, but I'm saying that to strike a balance so that no one will look down on the female gender. As a matter of fact, when you see a female, whether you know them or you don't know them, just honor them in your heart. Honor them in your heart. That's a good way to relate with them. So one thing you must notice, you have gotten that part. So don't call females weaker vessels because you want to look down on them with respect to strength. And then even the weaker vessel has nothing to do with strength. It's not about who has strength, who does not have strength. Are you there? So the Bible refers to weaker vessels the Bible refers to females as weaker vessels because the Bible wanted us to care for them. Right? The Bible is trying to say that these people, these people are fragile. These people deserve honor. They deserve care. That's what the Bible is trying to say. For example, if you have a vessel, if the weaker vessels means fragile vessels that if you don't handle carefully, if it falls to the ground, it breaks. For example, an egg is somehow fragile. So when you hold an egg, you hold it with all carefulness, because if by any means the egg falls from your hand and touches the ground, that's all. That's why the Bible is referring to them as weaker vessels. Are you getting what I'm saying? So that's it. It's not about strength or no. The Bible is referring to them as weaker vessels because they need care. You will need to believe in their vision for them to do well. That's it. They need support. And if I'm saying they need care, they need support. And then the male, somebody is saying, hey, are they not weak like that? You that you are a male, don't you need care? Don't you need support? The things they need, even the male needs it. So it's not about, are you getting what I'm saying? But I'm not in any way supporting feminism. But what I'm saying is, calling them weaker vessels has nothing to do with maybe they are useless or they have deficiencies. That's not it. That's not it. So it has to do with how you handle them. The Bible says the husbands should deal with their wives according to knowledge. That's because they are weaker vessels. So in order to handle a weaker vessel, you deal with them according to knowledge, meaning know who they are to know how to handle them. Know who they are to know how to handle them. Are you getting what I'm saying? So personally, I appreciate sisters. Whether I know them or not, I just have this love for them. And then any sister at all, I just have this respect for them inside. They may not know. Even when they do something wrong and I'm hard on them and I'm disciplining them. And then the respect I have for them is still there. Why? Because that's what God wants. If you don't have that honor for them in your heart, you cannot treat them or handle them the way you should handle them. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, before we continue this teaching, one more thing. If you look at the picture that was sent, you will see some people around the cross. Now, at this point, Jesus had been nailed to the cross. And I told you the implication of that action. The disciples of Jesus, they had left him. They left. Not even standing far away now. You can't see them from afar off. Everybody went back to their former place, trying to survive. Because nobody wants to die. And they actually followed, not because they wanted to die. They followed because, there are many reasons some of them followed. Jesus was a powerful person at that time. So some of them have this mind that, okay, one day he will become a king. So when he becomes a king, we will sit at his right hand. We'll be the chiefs. So these were the things that some of them were thinking about. That was why there was a time some people wanted to make Jesus king, and Jesus ran away. So when Jesus ran, the disciples were somehow disappointed because to them, this is an opportunity. This is what they have been waiting for. So why is he running again? Are you with me? The disciples of Jesus, the common disciples that were known with him, that were seen around him, were males. They were males. Peter, Andrew, John the Beloved. Even John the Beloved, that will put his head in Jesus' chest, that will be acting like the baby of the house. Even John disappeared. Everybody ran for their lives. Nobody wanted to die. Nobody. Are you there? Nobody wanted to die. That's how serious it is. So what I want to point your attention to is this. It was only the women that stayed with him. That's what I'm trying to say. It was only all the males. So when Jesus was nailed to the cross, it was the disciples that were not popularly mentioned with him that stayed with him. But those that were popularly mentioned with him, Peter, James, John, Andrew, all of them ran away. So disciples like Mary, the mother of Jesus, disciples like Mary Magdalene, are you there? People like Martha, are you there? People like Mary of Bethany, and then those people were around. They were the ones left. So, the pain in Jesus' heart was not much because as long as he's seeing those females there, he feels okay. At least I know some people betrayed me, but at least I still have few people standing with me. And even the males that, if any males are there, it will be those males that followed Jesus who were not, popularly known with him. People like maybe Lazarus, who was also a disciple, and then some people too who followed him secretly. They were the ones there. But those that followed openly, they ran away. You get what I'm saying? Now, let's go straight to the teachings so that I can show you the things I want to show you. That was why Jesus could not respond to the people nailing him to the cross. He couldn't respond to the people talking down at him. Are you with me? He couldn't. Couldn't respond to them. Could not respond to them. Why? Because he knew that thing they are doing, they don't know what they're doing. So when I come to you and I say, you don't even know what you're doing, I'm not necessarily saying that you don't understand that thing you are doing at that particular time. No, it's deeper than that. Either when somebody that is speaking, when somebody is speaking to you by the Spirit of God, either when you know this person is speaking to you by the Spirit of God, if he says something that looks ordinary, you better go and pray about it. There's something beyond that ordinary word. It has to be extraordinary. Either it is wrong to see the extraordinary as ordinary. Because if you do, you may not make profit from the weight of that which has been released to you. So I'm saying that even the course that you have chosen to study, before you start, have you seen the end from the beginning? Before you begin to labor for nothing, have you seen the end from the beginning? So Stephen says, Lord, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Those are men that have seen the end from the beginning. So the reason I'm doing what I'm doing for God, and I'm zealous about it, and by His grace, I'm not planning to stop at any. You see, my future is in God's hands. I have given the future. I was very ambitious before, so all the ambition, I've packed everything, and then I've placed it in God's hands. So the definition of my future now will be a response to, the summary of my future will be what God can do to a man that is faithful. That's all. Either what will happen to me, my future is simply what God can do to a servant that is obedient. That's all. If God will not do anything to a servant that is obedient, then nothing will happen to me in future. If God will not reward a servant that is faithful, then of course I don't have a reward in future. But if God will do anything to those that diligently serve Him, of course I know I have something. So that's the summary of my. Are you getting what I'm saying? The word of the Lord that is coming to you, before I continue in this verse, because when I teach with sensitivity, and those of you that have been following for a long time, you understand this thing better. I don't teach to rush, because if I'm teaching to rush, I would have gone to the next verse. But as I'm working with the Spirit, I know that the Spirit of God is laying emphasis on this, this particular part, because maybe somebody is currently getting discouragement, and is doubting what is real, and then at the verge of making a terrible decision. Are you with me? So if you have seen the end from the beginning and you have started, don't stop. If you have seen the end from the beginning and now you have started, don't stop. Except if you have not seen, and if you are listening to me and you have not seen the end from the beginning, don't even bother to start, because it's a risk. So I'm doing what I'm doing by the Spirit of God, because I have seen the end from the beginning. I know where this thing is heading to. Of course, now it may not look like it, but I know where this thing is heading to. Are you with me? So while I put a call through, something happened. And then my brother was talking with my mom. They were laughing. They were trying to iron out issues. I was sitting right beside her because I wanted him to speak with mom. So I was using my phone to. I started this thing. And I was sitting right beside her. So we were looking at him together, and he was seeing us. And he was talking with mom, and suddenly he said, you, I don't know the kind of life that you are living. Isn't this pastor thing you want to do? We asked you to marry, you did not marry. We asked you to go to relationship, you did not go. We said we should find one girl for you, you said no. I don't know this Christian thing that you people are doing. Are you getting what I'm saying? Maybe some of you are listening to me now, and that's your case. There are some of your friends who are attacking, they are trying to attack your faith. I don't know this church thing you are doing, always listening to messages. I don't understand though. Is this what you want to spend your life doing? Those things, I've heard a lot of that. There was a time, even my sister, this one is my brother, my sister called me from a far location with a concern in her heart and said, my brother. These are my elderly ones. They called with a concern and said, my brother, please. Is this pastor thing you want to do? I just want to know because I don't, so that in future it won't look like, is it this pastor? Are you sure that? I just smiled. You know the way people judge what you're doing is they believe that you can begin to live in the future from the now. So when you start something, they want to see you living in the reality of the future of that thing. So the moment you start, they want to see you should have a car, you should have a house, you should have billions in your accounts. So when they see that, they now know you are not failing. But as long as they see that you have a little beginning, they discourage you. And that's why many people are now going to the devil to seek for support in order to work for God, which is actually very wrong. The reason is because they have yielded to the discouragement of men. So my own discouragement did not come from afar. Of course, there are people from afar are you there? Who will call me to and say, this thing I have a lot of them like that. But what I'm saying is, my own people trying to discourage me, they are not only people coming from afar. People from the house, same blood, we call with a concern. Are you there? And at the end, you know that the summary of what they are saying is discouragement. Are you with me? Now, if I've heard all those things, and I know I'll still hear more, and I'm still doing what I'm doing, and if you notice, you see that even now, the zeal with which I'm doing the thing has now increased. It's like, if they see, they will just, now the summary is this our brother is mad now. He's mad. Let's just pray for recovery. And you get what I'm saying. So why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Like I used to tell you, I'm not getting anything from this. I'm not on any salary. Nobody's paying me. I get what? Nobody's paying me. And if I have a need, I will look up to God. I don't call anybody for anything. So it's not like there's one juice that I used to. No, there's nothing. So why am I doing what I'm doing? The reason is that, is because I have, by grace, seen the end from the beginning. That's how to journey with God. Don't start what you cannot see the end. Are you there? But unfortunately, the people that were doing all their bit to ensure that Jesus dies are the people that Jesus is dying for. Are you getting what I'm saying? Those that were doing all they could to kill him, either to destroy him, are the people he's dying for. Maybe you have been in that situation before. You are doing all you can to help someone. Are you there to keep someone, to protect someone? And you now notice that this same fellow is doing all he can. She's doing all she can to bring you into a state of hopelessness. If you find out such thing, I know you are likely to step back. You are likely to feel discouraged. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm sending, the Yoruba, they have a lot of adages. They say, I'm sending rats to you. You are sending snakes to me. What's all this? Are you getting what I'm saying? So humans naturally will give up when they notice that they're trying to help someone and the person is not reciprocating that kind gesture to them. But Jesus was not like that. Jesus understood that they were doing those things they were doing because they lack wisdom. And then the secret of what is happening here was exposed by Stephen in the book of Acts, chapter 7. Stephen said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So this is the exact reason Jesus did not respond to their ignorance, because he knows that though they are doing something, but they do not know what they do. So it's possible to be busy doing something. And some of you are listening to me now. Maybe that is even your case. You are busy doing something, but unfortunately, you don't even know what you're doing. It's an irony. A very terrible thing like that. You live every day doing that thing, but you don't know what you're doing. Not knowing what you're doing is not necessarily that exact thing you are doing. You don't know. Now, let me ask you. The thing you are currently doing now, have you seen the future of that thing? That's what I'm saying. Do you know where, do you know the end of the thing that you have started now? Do you know the end from the beginning? If you don't know the end of a thing from the beginning of that thing, don't start. Don't begin. Oh my God. Are you catching what I'm saying? That's the mystery of that was some of the things that Jesus was trying to reveal in the book of Revelation. When John the Baptist by revelation, no, John the Beloved. I mean, John the Beloved, one of the disciples of Jesus who wrote the book of Revelation, said, "Is the beginning and the end." Are you there? Meaning that if you understand that mystery, then you are not expected to start something that you don't know its end. Are you with me? So what I'm trying to say is, I've chosen to be, by grace anyway, I've been selected by God to minister to God's people. Are you there? And I'm doing all my best, putting in all my best. As it is now, even if you look at me, you are likely to make a wrong conclusion and say, this young boy that is just teaching people around, what are you doing? Go and get a job. Are you with me? And then you are not doing it. People think that you just have to be sweating and then just run, do this job, do that one to be a, hardworking person. Are you there? I remember it's a serious one. I went to my mom's place. Was it yesterday? I went there. So while I was there, I decided to call my brother on WhatsApp call. So it was a video call so that he can talk with mom, and then they can just they will see themselves and just be happy because he is far away. So while I put a call through, so if you look at Mark chapter 15 verse 25, and it was the third hour, and they crucified him. Now, it was the third hour they crucified him. I remember when I was young, even some years ago, when I read this place, it was the third hour they crucified him. When I see they crucified him, then I used to think that they killed him. But that was not true. They crucified him is not the same thing as they killed him. To crucify a person is to nail the person to the cross. That's crucifixion. So in those days, there were several methods that was adopted in handling hardened criminals, because criminals were not just existing now, they had been existing for long. So they had different ways of handling criminals. For some of them, they will peel off their skin alive. For some of them, they'll tie them to horses and then keep moving them till their flesh you know till their flesh leaves their body. For some of them, they cut off their head. For some of them, they will just they will roast them in fire. They throw them in fire physically. For some of them, several things they do to them. For some of them, they press them. They put something heavy on them, so they press them to the ground till they die. And for some of them, they throw them to the lions. So these were ways of handling hardened criminals. There were criminals in those days that were hardened. I mean, notorious criminals. So it happens to be that Jesus was the method that was adopted for Jesus was crucifixion. And then in crucifixion, what happens is that the victim, the criminal, will be nailed to the cross, and then it will be left to die. So that pain, the nails passing through the legs, the nails passing through the hands. Are you there? So that pain is what will kill the person. So once a person is crucified, once a person is nailed to the cross, they leave the person because he cannot survive. Are you there? So looking at the explanation I've given now, it will be just to draw this conclusion. Jesus died as a criminal. That's just the simple summary. Because the method of uh, killing, the method of death that was uh, chosen was that of a criminal. Only criminals die by crucifixion. Only criminals. And then to further prove this to you, you discover that the people those at his left and at his right, they were all criminals. There was one notorious thief that was standing right beside him. That's to show you that only criminals die by crucifixion. That's a hard way to die. So that's why such hard means they are left for terrible people, for hardened criminals. So on his right, on his left, there were notorious criminals there. So obviously, if the one on the left is a notorious criminal, and the one on the right is a notorious criminal, so what is the one in the middle? The one in the middle is probably the king of the notorious criminal. So Jesus died as a criminal. According to the judges, they saw him as a criminal. Are you there? To them, he had committed a great crime. Are you there? He had gone against the law of the Jews. He had spoken against the authorities of the land. So are you there? They chose to, attack him in a hard way. So you see, one thing to notice this: somebody can say something, are you there? And you feel it is wrong. But that you feel the person is not accurate does not mean the person is not accurate. Until you have gotten a feedback, a certain, a sure feedback from the spirit. Are you with me? Don't say somebody is not correct. Either don't go by your feelings. I feel is wrong, so is wrong. No. You must receive a witness from the Spirit of God in you. Are you with me? Not just about how you feel or how you do not feel. Are you getting what I'm saying? Okay, let's move on. So there were people passing by. There were, some of the passerbys. They were actually mocking him. While they were going, they were mocking him. They were just laughing. Look at that man. The reason they were mocking him was because they were there when Jesus said, I will destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. So that was the words they were actually saying. That's what the Bible is trying to say here. That some people were moving, some people were passing by, and when they saw him, they were just laughing. They said, is this not the one that said he will destroy the temple and build it in 3 days? Is it okay? Let him go and be building the temple on the cross now. The person that want to build temple, his hands are even nailed to the cross. Are you with me? His legs are nailed to the cross. And this one will build temple. Like, okay, well, maybe when he dies anyway, his spirit will be building the temple. They were mocking. Just imagine yourself on the cross and then hearing those terrible things. Look at how painful it will be. Right there. And the reason those things will pain Jesus is not because of the mockery. No, it's because of the people's ignorance. So if Jesus will suffer any pain, it is not because maybe what they are doing is affecting him. He will mourn, he will cry for their ignorance. So if they see tears in his face, he's not doing that because, no, that tears is for their ignorance. Thinking, how can people be so daft? I said, this temple, you built it for years, many years. I said, I will destroy, build in 3 days. How can you imagine I'm talking about this physical temple? I'm talking about me dying and resurrecting on the 3rd day. So, you see, sometimes even the one that is ignorant think that he is right, acting in ignorance. Are you there? Sometimes the one that is ignorant thinks that he is right even when he's acting in his ignorance. So you see people like that, they are the first to attack people. They are the first to mock. You see, even when you see ignorant ministers, you will know. They are always calling out names. A preacher said this. It's not correct. Why are you mentioning the person's name? Are you there? One thing we don't know is the moment you become a preacher, the numbers of people that will hate you will increase. That's just is natural. So why would you add more problems to your problem? Are you there? This preacher, they are standing on the altar. This preacher said this. How can a preacher talk like this? In the on the pulpit, a lot of people watching, and some of these people are even live. Other people can watch them from afar. No, it's not necessary. Don't be a mocker. Don't be a mocker. The disciples, the females that were there with Jesus, they were not mocking him. Are you there? They were not mocking him. So if you are truly a disciple, one of the habits you must conquer is uh, mockery. A true disciple doesn't mock. No, they don't mock others. A true disciple does not mock. All right, we may need to start from verse 25 again. And it was the third hour, and they crucified him. And the superscription of his accusation over was written over the King of the Jews. That was the main offense that he committed. Why would this young boy, who is not even up to 34 years of age, begin to refer to himself as the King of the Jews? Who made him king over us? Just like the people uh, spoke to Moses in the Old Testament and they said, who made you a judge over us? That was the same thing they did to Jesus. So if you study the ministry of Moses, you will understand some things about Jesus, because Moses was foreshadowing the personality of Jesus. So Moses was actually, everything Moses did was pointing to something about Jesus in the New Testament. The people looked at Moses in the Old Testament and said, who made you a judge over us? And now look at what was written on his cross. The King of the Jews. That was his accusation. Meaning they are indirectly telling him, who made you a king over us? Because actually in those days a king is a judge. If, to verify that, you need to check what happened in the book of Kings during the reign of King Solomon, when two women came and said, this is my child, this is not my child is not dead, my child is alive. So they came to Solomon to judge the matter, because kings in those days, they operate as judges. They operate as judges. Are you with me? All right. Verse 27. And please take note, when was he crucified? He was crucified in the third hour. Third hour is 9 a.m. in the morning. 9 a.m. in the morning. If you study the book of Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2, if you read downwards, the fire fell on the disciples, those that waited at the upper room. The fire fell on them at the third hour. That's also 9 a.m. So the fire fell on them 9 a.m. in the morning. Jesus was also crucified 9 a.m. in the morning. So please take note of that. Don't forget, we are looking at the priesthood timing system. So I'm saying all this to lay foundation before I begin to hit the nail on the head. Verse 27. And with him they crucified two thieves. Can I say that? Two thieves. The one on his right hand and the other on his left. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, he was numbered with transgressors. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads, and saying, thou that destroyest the temple, and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself, and come down from the cross. Can I say that? Some of the people that were passing, looking at Jesus on the cross, they did not pity him. It's one thing to say, hey, this man is a good man. There were people that were passing that were actually mocking Jesus because they were there when Jesus said something that they felt is wrong. So these people took their time to mock Jesus. Even in verse 30, they were still mocking him. Save thyself and come down from the cross. Likewise, also the chief priests, mocking, said among themselves with the scribes, he saved others. Himself he cannot save. Ordinary men mocked Jesus. Even chief priests mocked Jesus. You know what who chief priests were? Chief priests were like the general overseers of today. So you may be a Jew and yet your activities is a mockery to Jesus. Yes. The chief priests are mocking Jesus here. He saved others. Let him save himself. There are many people who are not ministering to God. What they are doing is a mockery to God. It's a mockery to God. One of my beloved sisters was asking me a question yesterday. And then she said, sir, maybe when you go for a program and then the pastor asks you to come and then bring one money and come and use the money to contact something so that something can happen, like a miracle can happen. She now says, sir, what can you say to that? I know she must have been to that program, something like that, and she must have seen such things physically. That's why she's asking that question. Those things are mockery to Jesus. So you may be a Jew, just like the chief priest. You may be pastoring a church, just like the chief priest, and yet be mocking him. You think you are ministering to him, but yet what you are doing is a mockery to him. So it's your money now that you will use to connect to God. It's your money that you use to make contact. You make contact by faith. Either you make contact by faith. Either, but when you are giving to ministers of God, you give to them because you honor them. Either your giving to them is your language of honor. So I appreciate what you're doing. What the Lord is doing through you. How that the Lord is using you to build us. Thank you so much for the labors. So please manage this. Take this. Take that. Take this. You are doing those things as a way of communicating honor, not to connect to anything. Let's not be carnal in this thing. Are you with me? Well, I've been given the message of truth. People like me now, young ministers, have not really gathered much things. I'm the one that is supposed to be doing all this. You have to sow so that you can get. But I have been taught of God. It will be a sin upon me now. Me that God, people like me now. I can't say anything different from the truth because it's like I just want to die. God has taught me personally. So if I now choose not to say the things that He has said to me, that's death. I cannot say anything different from what I've heard Him say. Are you with me? So you don't connect with your money. You don't make contact with your money. You connect with your faith. You make contact with your faith. That's all. So I don't need to give. No, give. Either give, support the ministers. Even when they don't ask, there are people that are waiting for ministers to come and beg them. No. Either. Well, there are some that will come and beg you anyway, so that they can fulfill your carnal wish. But I can assure you, not all ministers are beggars. Even when there are some, even when they don't have, they will not reduce the standard of God to come to you to ask for anything. Either. So note that when you are giving, you are giving to honor their labors, you are giving to honor their consistency in service, you are giving to appreciate the gift of God over their life. But if you want to connect to anything, you want to receive anything that you feel they have, you connect by faith. Connect by faith, you connect by your commitment to serving them. Sir, is there anything you want me to do for you? Are you getting what I'm saying? Sir, is there any instruction? Are you there? Let the instructions they have given to you, your obedience to those instructions is your connection to the grace. That's all. Your obedience to the instruction they have given to you is your connection to the grace. That's why it's hard for you to find somebody around me that I have not given certain instructions. Why? I give them those instructions and I leave them with it so that becomes their means of connection. That's all. Though there are people that are now idolizing this. So there are people that are idolizing it. So they tell you there's there's something about that 3. You have to pray by 6 a.m. That's when God can hear you. If you want God to hear you again, you have to pray in the next 3 hours. That is 9 a.m. If you want God to hear you again, there's one door that will open by 12. You have to pray. Just be counting that thing. That kind of teaching is dangerous. Of course, if you follow it, you look like you are spiritual because now you are praying. But the problem is, you won't know when you start idolizing time. You will start begin to idolize. The reason for teaching the timing system in priesthood is not to idolize time. It's just to know that as a priest, you should not go 3 hours without praying. Are you there? So if I have prayed this morning, I'm expected to pray before 9. Yes. Before the next 3 hours, I should pray. If I pray before 9, I'm expected to say something. It doesn't have to be a long prayer. That's why some of you are finding it hard to meet up with these things. Because you think it has to be 1 hour, it has to be 30 minutes. No. It can just be 5 minutes prayer. Yes, it can be 5 minutes. It can be 10 minutes. So if I have prayed 9 a.m. today, I'm expected to pray before 12. So within that 3 hours timing system, God expects to hear the voice of a priest. God expects that a priest will at least make a sacrifice to him. Are you getting what I'm saying? God bless you. So don't be like the chief priest, brother. The chief priests who were there mocking Jesus. They were, you know what chief priests mean? They are not just priests, though. They are chief priests. They are chief among the priests. To be a chief priest is to be leader of the priest. They are not just ordinary priests. They are senior priests. They are senior members of the temple. Men that are highly honored. Yes, men that when they are coming, you put red carpet and then you show them when they are coming down from the car. And those are the chief priests. Those things are not bad in themselves, but ensure that the things you are doing is not a mockery to Jesus. Minister to Jesus, don't mock him. Right there. You hear people say, no, no, no. You have to come and buy this water. Meanwhile, that table water, an unbeliever, an unbeliever is selling a bottle water for 200 naira. Now you come to a believer, a man of God. A man of God will say that 200 naira bottle water, he will sell it for you for 20,000. And you that you lack wisdom, you have refused to grow, you will now buy it 20,000. Look at the margin, 200 to 20,000. And the only excuse the minister has is, I have prayed on it. In whose name? Is it in his own name? Freely have you received, freely should you give. So those things that certain ministers do that they call ministry is actually a mockery to God. They are like the chief priest and they are mocking God. They are mocking God. The Lord trusted you with sister. You are a brother. Innocent sisters who are, genuinely trying to know God. The Lord brought them to you, trusting, them into your case. And now you are doing is defiling them in the name of the Lord. They honor you, they will obey you. The next thing is you are now defiling them one after the other for your own pleasure. It's not a ministry to God, it's a mockery to Jesus. You are like the chief priest. Those things you are doing, you are mocking Jesus. You are mocking him. Let's continue. Let's read that verse 1 again. Likewise also the chief priest mocking said among themselves with the scribes, he saved others. Himself he cannot save. Let Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe. And they that were crucified with him reviled him. Can you see that? Jesus was so much mocked that even other criminals were mocking him. Both criminals and those that had no crime, they were mocking him. Are you there? Meanwhile, as far as Jesus is concerned, may God help us. Jesus was carrying the sins of the world upon himself. That's priesthood. Priesthood helps you to bear burdens. Either you may not have the shoulder for responsibility until you begin to engage priesthood, until you begin to practice priesthood. I get what I'm saying. So at that point, Jesus had already carried the sins of the whole world on himself. So including the sins of those criminals that were nailed by his side, he had carried the sin upon himself. The sins of the priest too, he had carried them upon himself. Are you there? But you see, that was why Jesus could tell one of the thieves, today you will meet me in paradise. The reason is because he had already carried the sin on himself. So even a murderer can make it to paradise at that time, because Jesus had all the sins on him. 33. And when the sixth hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the ninth hour. Can you see that? There was darkness all over the whole land until the ninth hour. And at the ninth hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Are you with me? Now, remember, we are looking at priesthood timing system. Now, there are three timing, there are three different times that were captured in this chapter. And these three times, these three time allocation had significance in the crucifixion of Jesus. Jesus was crucified at the third hour of the day. Now, according to the Jews, the day starts by 6 a.m. So if they say third hour, you just add 3 plus 6 a.m. Are you there? 3 plus 6 a.m., that is 9 a.m. If they say sixth hour, you add 6 plus 6 a.m., that is 12 noon. If they say ninth hour, you add 9, that is 3 p.m. Are you with me? So that's how to calculate. So that, are you with me? Now, Jesus was crucified. He was nailed to the cross at the third hour. That is 9 a.m. Are you with me? So, people were mocking him. At the sixth hour, there was darkness. Are you with me? Are you there? At the sixth hour, there was darkness. That is 12 noon. Meanwhile, according to the law of nature, 12 noon is midday. So there's not supposed to be darkness. But 12 noon at that time, there was thick darkness. Are you there? And then 3 p.m., Jesus died. So 9 a.m., he was nailed to the cross. 12 noon, a great darkness came, and that darkness lasted for 3 hours. Exactly 3 p.m., Jesus died. If you look at the intervals, you see that it's 3 hours intervals. 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours. There's something to learn from that. There's priesthood. That's the priesthood timing system. So what message must you learn from that place? Now the message to learn is this. As a priest, you are not expected to go 3 hours without praying, without saying something to God. You are not expected to. That's why I see some people, they pray at that interval. They pray by 6, they pray by 9, they pray by 12, they pray by 3 p.m., they pray by 6, they pray by 9 p.m. again. On and on like that. Are you there? But for you, even if you don't hit that exact target, but you must make a plan that you won't go 3 hours without praying. Are you getting what I'm saying? A priest must not go 3 hours without praying. So that means if you have prayed 6 a.m., you should pray before 9 a.m. Either 9 on dot or to 9, but just ensure that you don't go more than 3 hours in a day, in each day without praying. So if you have prayed 9 a.m., before 12, God should hear your voice. That's how the timing system of a priest moves.